It's Happy Hour again from Uptown New Orleans. Hello, I'm Grant Morris. Happy Hour is part of the family of shows on the podcast network. It's neworleans.com. When you walk into a bar in New Orleans and you pull up a bar stool, you never know who's going to be sitting on either side of you. What you do know is no matter what they look like, what they're wearing, whether they just got out of a limo or just got out of jail, they're going to be happy to talk to you because that's New Orleans and this is Happy Hour, a cocktail-fueled 60 minutes of random conversation with folks who have nothing in common. Other than we're all New Orleanians in a bar, today we are at Wayfair on Freret Street in Uptown New Orleans. Let me tell you something about Wayfair. Wayfair is a bar and a restaurant that serves handcrafted food and spirits, where Chef Kevin White puts fine dining into a sandwich and the bartenders put fine booze into a glass. They have a 3-hour happy hour here every weekday from 4 to 7. I think it's every day, actually, not just weekdays. So you can come here any day you want. Have you guys been here before? This is my guests today are Amal and Alicia. I only have 2 guests and they both begin with A.
This is true.
And we had a third person who came here and then his hearing aid wasn't working, so he had to leave. So he couldn't hear a thing. That was pretty interesting. We did a whole headphone mic check and he couldn't hear a thing.
Yeah, I felt awful
I know,
about that.
I felt bad too because they were blasting the guy's head off.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing's feeding back and he's like, no, can't hear it. Can't hear a thing. It's terrible. That's a real affliction.
I thought it was a joke.
You did?
I thought he was.
You think he was just?
I thought he was joking for a second, but then I was like, no, he's really not joking.
No, he's really not.
No.
I know. Terrible. I feel bad for the guy. Anyway, so that's the sound of Amal Abdul Khalik, who you just heard, otherwise known as F The Naysayer. And if you listen to the show, you would have heard F The Naysayer on the show before, because this is your 118th time you've been on, right?
Oh, totally.
Something like that?
I'm a veteran.
Yeah, I know. I can't remember how many times it's been. But we love F The Naysayer. He's a New Orleans-based, Los Angeles-bred producer of electronic music and instrumental hip-hop. That's fairly accurate, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, The Naysayer's debut EP, which we had not seen before, since we saw you last time, is called the Autodidact Instrumentals Vol.1. Alicia, how do you like that for a title?
I think that's a beautiful title.
It is?
If I had something to title, that's what I would choose.
That's what you'd call for your first album when you make one? You have to call it Volume 2 now.
You're assuming I haven't made one yet.
Do you play an instrument?
No, but I come from a family of people who've always wanted to play instruments, and none of us ever have. But
You have a whole family of wannabes.
Yeah, it's the half-hearted desire, which is very strong in our family. Not strong enough to be a full-fledged desire, but...
Well, there's no time like the present, right?
Is there? I feel like, don't they say like 30 or around 30-ish is the magic age where like you just can't learn things like that anymore?
That's no. Do whatever you want to. There's no limit. No,
You teach music, Amal, right?
I sure do. Yeah.
You teach at something called the Upbeat Academy.
Yeah, it's a non-profit where we take high school kids. Some of them actually are out of high school, but generally like roughly between the ages of 14 and 19. We teach them music production, electronic music production, and I make sure they understand like basic music theory.
Right.
Yeah, I want them to be able to play the keyboard when I'm done.
How hard is it to learn the keyboard? I mean, all the things are just sitting there. You just have to push them, right? At least you could learn that.
Half of it's feeling, and then the other half is just knowledge of just knowing where to go, like just traveling and understanding spacing and whatnot. So
how do you, Alicia? What
spacing?
Spacing. There's your first lesson.
What does spacing mean?
Well, just like like understanding how to go from like place to place, like half steps and whole steps. That you can break that down to learning different scales and building chords from that and learning those scales and fingerings, and it's all, I look at like math. You put it all together and there's formula you follow and you apply that formula, but then there's the art side of it too, and so you can get technical, but you also need to put your own feelings and emotions into it also. So
what do you need? Equal.
You
need equal amounts of emotion, of feeling, and
totally.
technique to be.
I agree.
What about if you're starting out? Like Alicia, you have no idea how to play anything, nothing.
I have
you never
no
played
idea,
the ukulele
no.
or anything.
I'm in a church choir.
Okay, so you
So
can
I
sing.
can play my
singing,
voice.
That's an instrument. Your voice. This is an instrument. You have to train it.
It's true, but you've never heard me sing, so you don't know how good or how not good that I am.
Well, you say you're in a choir, so I mean that should say something for itself.
Yeah, we've got a great director.
You'd have to be kicked out of the choir if you couldn't sing, right?
Well, it's a church choir, so they tend to be kinder than
really?
some of the professional choirs.
I got kicked out of my choir when I was in high school.
Oh, what did you do?
I think it was drug abuse was the issue, but I also couldn't sing in tune, so they kicked me out. So I would think they do kick people out of choirs, right?
Probably. I've never abused drugs during choir, but I do like to have a glass of wine or so before I go.
To loosen you up?
Yeah.
What sort of a religion is it?
It's a Unitarian Universalist.
I've heard that on the radio.
so-
The UU. What exactly does that stand for? What are they?
So UUs are Unitarian Universalists,
Yeah.
and what don't they stand for? Which is kind of the old joke about UUs, like what do you get when you cross a Jehovah's Witness with a Unitarian?
Amal, I'm going to open it up.
I don't know.
Someone who goes around knocking on doors for no apparent reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's wide open, the UU.
It's a very liberal theology.
Well, is God involved with it for a start?
For some people, yes. So when
You don't
think of
have to
most-
believe in God.
You do not. So you think of most kind of mainstream religions, and they start with like you have a holy book or you have a canon, and then those become the teachings that becomes the basis of your religion.
Right.
This kind of works from the opposite and has its roots in the Enlightenment.
What's the opposite of a book?
The opposite of book is your brain, I guess. Okay, I want to take back that statement because I think that's controversial. But the idea is you don't start with like, this is what you should believe. Now believe it. This is asking,
Right.
okay, what do you believe? And then you kind of, gets more narrow from there. So you kind of start with this whole world, this whole combination of traditions that are out there, and you start zeroing in on the ones that make the most sense for you.
Individually, as a part of a community.
Yes, exactly. It's a really good religion for people who might not have any sort of traditional belief structure, people who are atheists, for example, but kind of really crave that church community.
But I'm having trouble following what the common bond is. Isn't there supposed to be a common bond?
So yeah, the common bond is I guess if you want to think of each religion as being centered around a deity, then reason is the deity for Unitarian Universalists. So you don't believe things on faith or on sight unseen. You believe things because you have studied them, because your experience has kind of confirmed that they are true.
Isn't that the
True for
opposite of
you.
religion? Isn't religion based on faith and learning is based on reason?
Oh, sure. I mean, I don't know, who can come up with a catch-all definition of religion that everyone would be happy with. So yeah, a lot of people will say it's not a religion, and that's totally
fine
cool
too.
Yeah.
Hey, what the hell? It can be anything, right?
Anything goes. Yeah.
So why do they have a choir? What are you singing?
Well, that's the thing about choir music is that so much of it, comes from the era where people wanted to sing about God, and choirs
Right.
were kind of based in these churches. So we sing about God, and if we sing about Jesus too much, then people start to complain, and it's just kind of funny to see like these, old women in their 60s and 70s getting all crotchety, like, why do we have to sing about Jesus all the time? A lot of the good music out there is about Jesus.
I was just
but-
going to say the same. There's a lot of great songs that got Jesus in it.
Yeah.
I mean, they've lasted
And we sing
hundreds of
about
years, or
him,
thousands
yeah.
of years now.
Yeah, so we sing about him, but there's also like, for example, recently we sang an E.E. Cummings poem that was sent to music, so that was fun.
Here's our producer, Graham daPonte. Graham, hello.
Hello.
What-
Hello, can you hear me? I didn't do a mic check. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you. Graham, do you know anything about choirs or E.E. Cummings?
I know a little bit about Unitarianism.
Why?
I did this kind of search for a religion when I was about 25 maybe, and I went to two Unitarian churches. I went to Presbyterian, Methodist, and Catholic. I ended up back at the Episcopal Church where
Where you started out.
started out, but
Amal,
I don't go
do
to
you
church
have a religion,
anymore.
Amal?
No, I
You don't
have
believe in
religion.
anything. You're totally godless and without any faith.
Yes.
Okay.
I am too. I
You
don't
are
go to
too?
church anymore.
You've given it up completely.
Gave it up.
It
Yep.
sounds like you could both be Unitarian Universalists.
all right.
You're welcome to come to my church.
Is there
Which join
a...
my choir.
Where is it?
It's CCU, your Community Church Unitarian Universalist in Lakeview.
It's in Lakeview, so you have to
Yeah.
bike there. Would you?
Now I carpool with some nice people who live in my neighborhood.
Okay, that's handy. What neighborhood do you live in?
I live in the Irish Channel.
And you have to go to Lakeview.
Yeah.
Okay, that is a
That's
couple.
a trip, yeah.
That's
It's a
quite a
trip,
bike ride
yeah.
if you're a bicyclist.
And I think I've biked it before. Takes it out of you though.
You'd really believe in God if you could make it all the way there to Lakeview, because there's not really an easy way to get to Lakeview from the Irish Channel, that's for sure.
That is true.
There's no direct line.
That is
Well,
true.
what got you into it?
Into the
sing-
church?
Yeah, singing or
the singing.
no? Yeah, with the church. Did you start off going to the church and then you joined the choir, or did you want a place to sing in a choir and then?
Well, I wanted to check out the church, and a woman, my friend Betsy, where I work, she was a member of the choir. She goes to that church, and she's like, well, I could find some, this was before I owned a car, she said, I could find some people for you to carpool with, but unfortunately they're all in the choir. So I was like, I guess I'll have to join the choir then. Because otherwise I would just be, sitting around for an hour and a half before church started.
So the choir has to get there an hour and a half before to practice.
Yes.
So you do
We
an hour and a half of
3
choir
hours a
practice?
week, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
So an hour and a half before church and also on a Wednesday night or something.
Yeah. Those are the ones that I show up a little tipsy. Sunday mornings I'm not.
But yo, you were saying like earlier, like you don't know how well you can sing, or like I don't know how well you can sing, but you're practicing that much, you got to be able to sing. I'm just saying.
People have told us we're getting better. You're totally welcome to come and judge for me.
Let's go.
Use feedback.
What instrument would you like to play if you could play one?
If I could play, that's a good question. I
I
think I've always
knew
wanted
there'd
to
be
play
a
the
good question
piano.
eventually at some point today. The piano.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was just saying. That's the easiest one because all the keys are just sitting.
You
there.
can actually
Yeah.
just look and see what you're pressing. So.
Yeah, even cats learn to play the piano.
There you go.
And you can take a piano with you now. You didn't used to be able to do that. It's become portable.
That's true. Well, like
Yeah.
on your iPad or something.
Oh, I don't know about that, but I mean, you can take a keyboard with you and plug it in, and you don't have to. You're not
I
stuck
guess
like
you
with
could.
a baby
Well,
grand.
Amal, you're a keyboard player. That's your principal instrument, right?
Yeah, correct. I mean, yeah,
Do you
can
like one around?
No. Oh, well, I do have a MIDI controller, which is basically by itself makes no sound, but you hook it up into a computer, you can play things on it. So yeah.
What does that look like? Has that got keys?
It has keys. It looks like a keyboard. It looks like a keyboard, but I mean, it makes no sound unless
Right.
you hook it up into a computer.
It's just
cool.
sending
It's just a
information.
controller. It's just a
Right,
controller.
right. So, Alicia says here, I'm going to read shall I finish what they told me to read about you, Abdul?
Yeah, sure.
Why not? Okay.
Why not?
So we're going to go as far as your album, which is called the Autodidact Instrumentals Vol.1, which we're going to listen to a bit of today, actually.
Oh yes, correct.
It can be heard wherever good music is streamed or stolen. And you might also recognize it if you watch BMX on the web or ESPN.
Correct.
Holy
yeah.
crap, you're getting royalties from ESPN.
Yeah.
Nice.
I've been to ESPN twice. So.
Nice. How do you sell a song to ESPN?
You have friends in high places.
Okay.
No, one of my buddies, he was the editor for one of the promo videos for the X Games, and he was like, "I'm using your music." I'm like, "Thank you."
Wow, nice. Let's take a listen to the one that we'll get through this firstly. And then we'll take a listen to the song that's on ESPN.
No, okay.
How much do you get paid every time they play it? Or is it a buyout?
No, it was a buyout, because
yeah.
it wasn't like the way it works. They have a library that they go through this agency, and they pick through that stuff. But a lot of the times, music I heard isn't too great. So my friend was like, "I'm just putting this in there," and it was a deadline, and they had to kind of make it work. So they just did a buyout. So, but I still own all the rights and everything. They just gave me a large sum. It was cool.
I like the sound of that, a large sum to use your stuff on ESPN. It also says here that AF is the New Orleans ambassador for Red Bull Music Academy.
Hey.
Whoa, what is the Red Bull Music Academy exactly?
Well, it's like a dream school basically, where they do it once a year. It's all over the world. Like last year it was in Tokyo. This year it's in Paris.
You get to go to these places?
No, unfortunately, because I'm the ambassador. No, but I just represent it. And I'm going to New York City for they're doing like a Red Bull Music Academy festival. I'm gonna be a part of that.
So you're the New Orleans Red Bull ambassador?
Yeah, correct. So this is basically like just trying to get the right people in the communities and areas to try to sign up for Red Bull Music Academy. Also inform people what Red Bull Music Academy actually is, and kind of I'm basically like a middleman between the Music Academy and the actual Red Bull brand, because the person who's like the field marketing manager doesn't know the music scene in New Orleans or like Louisiana as a whole. So I'm kind of like the expert of like the music scene. They kind of like help out.
So they're looking for something more sort of electronic hip-hop style?
No. It's everything.
Or you're all over. So you have
It's like singer-songwriter,
Right.
it's like a multi-instrumentalist to producer and various electronic music to rap.
And what are you doing? Are you funneling music to them or people to them?
No. It's just like I'm just getting the people I feel like will be the right applicants to apply to the music school.
So you're like a casting director.
Yeah, basically.
Sort of.
But on
okay.
top of that, also like help executing like certain Red Bull Music Academy events. So like they might they usually have a Q&A every year, where they take like a big artist and they'll interview the artist and talk about like their career and music path and
Right.
stuff like that. Or it might be like a concert or something. So
Who was it? Who was the last one?
This year we didn't really do anything this year. Last year I'm trying to remember. Oh, Gennaro Jarrell, and I mean he came and talked here.
He was on our show.
been on our show.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I went to some night that you guys had together at Casa.
Vibrant Experience.
My God, that was great.
Oh yeah.
And he is great. Is he still in New Orleans? Is he
No, he moved to Miami recently, so
yeah,
he'll be back though. He has a lot of family ties here, so
he does. He is
his wife.
Interesting and challenging. Oh, she's from here. Oh, that's usually what gets everyone to stay.
family.
That's what drags everyone. What people don't like to leave here. So if you marry somebody from New Orleans, you end up living in New Orleans.
The weather's usually pretty
who you
nice
are.
too, right?
What's that?
The weather's usually pretty nice compared
Usually,
to
apart
New
from
England.
today, it is. Yeah, today's horrible. So let me tell you something about Alicia Cooke, Cooke.
That is correct.
That's correct. We got that right. It says here you moved to New Orleans 3.5 years ago by way of Maryland, New York, Ireland, Niger, Slovakia, and a big old boat. Come on.
That's true.
You came here on a boat.
Can I just say I'm really impressed that you pronounced Niger correctly? Nobody pronounces Niger correctly.
What do they say?
They say Niger.
Niger,
Yeah.
okay.
Well traveler over here.
Yeah.
That's very impressive.
Well, I got it from NPR. I hear them say it on the radio.
I would even be surprised that NPR could get it right.
Shall we go through them one at a time and ask you about
Sure.
each one? You were
Yeah.
born and raised in Maryland, I assume.
I was. Silver Spring, Maryland. Same
That
house.
sounds nice.
Yeah, first 18 years of my life I lived there. I've still managed to move 32 times in my life, despite that. And I don't mean moving city, but like moving house.
You spent the first 18 years in the same house.
Yeah.
And now you're
Well,
about
17,
30,
I guess.
apparently, according to you.
I am, how old am I?
You said you're
I'm old
too
enough
old
that
to
I
learn
start
to
to
play an
forget,
instrument.
and then I have to.
Well, that could be
calculate.
anything.
Yeah, I'm 33.
So 33.
33.
So how many years is that? 15, 18 to 33, or so 25? Come on.
Well,
You're a
I
teacher in
wasn't
the
paying
academy.
attention,
Oh, you should have been
actually.
listening.
I think it's 15, right?
15 years. So in 15 years, you've moved every 6 months, on
Yeah.
average.
Yeah, on average every 6 months.
And it must be shorter than that sometimes, because I'm sure
Yeah.
how long have you lived in the house you're in now on the Irish Channel?
Now, I've been in there about 2 years now.
You've been there 2 years, so that
Yeah.
knocks 2 years off
Yeah.
it. So now we're down to 14 years. So now
then-
you've moved about every
couple of
4
weeks, I
months.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
guess you have to
extraordinary.
then sit down with yourself and ask, like, okay, what constitutes actually living somewhere? And I figure if I got mail when I was there, then I lived there.
Wow.
Yeah, so
You
there's
must-
like one
you're
house
not that
I
old. Are you
live-
still getting mail, right?
I'm still getting mail because I still write to people.
Do you really?
Yeah,
You
I
sit
write
down
to,
and write a note to someone.
Well, I have 5 pen pals in prison, and they don't have email.
You're not allowed to have email if you're in jail. Prison, I mean. I know there's a difference.
Surprisingly, you're not allowed to have email in prison.
But you can get regular letters, I
You can
guess.
get regular letters, and sometimes
someone
I can
can
send
read
them
them
stamps. Yeah, yeah.
Do they get intercepted before they're read?
I don't know. There's one. So I'm writing to one person in Angola, and when I get those letters back, they write on the envelope, "This was not censored." I'm like, well, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Wow.
I don't
It's
know
a
if that,
warning,
I don't know if that
trigger
means
warning.
you tried.
What
It means they're not responsible for your reaction to what you find in the letter. What's your you've got one in Angola? I'm a criminal defense attorney, so you have one at Angola,
Yeah.
and
Wait till you hear
what's
what
the
Graham
charge?
really does, who she defends.
What's the charge? Do you
I
know?
don't know. I've never asked.
never asked?
I feel like if people want to volunteer, they will.
How'd you start writing these guys? People. I don't know that they're guys.
They're all guys.
They are in Angola.
Yeah, they are guys. I feel like y'all putting two together. Like, I'm 33, I'm single, I'm writing to all these men in prison.
We didn't
But
know you were
that's not
single,
true.
actually. I didn't know you were
Yeah,
single.
we didn't know that.
But
Sorry, I guess I'm projecting everything's in my
I
head.
tell you what, though, if you want to have a good relationship with someone and not, have get under your skin, that would be a great guy to date. A guy in prison, he's not going to, it's
No,
hard to
I-
have sex with him, I would think. That would be difficult.
Yeah.
Are you allowed
I'm
conjugal
not-
visits if you're the girlfriend?
I'm not trying, so I don't know. Again,
not-
I have no interest in any of these men, but I do have a friend who is, okay, and I'll say I don't have a whole lot of hang-ups about the fact that I'm single, but I do have a friend who's in San Quentin. He's obese, he's about 70 years old, and he just got engaged to this beautiful German woman who's about 30 years younger than him.
So there's hope for all of us. Graham?
Apparently.
Well, Charles
on.
Manson. Charles Manson's engaged now.
Are you
I think he
serious?
broke it off.
Yeah, it
though.
was like a 26-year-old girl from like North Carolina.
Star. Her name is Star.
I had no
It's a
idea.
lovely
Where do
name.
you find that information? That's on NPR as well.
It's on the internet, and I believe it. I've seen it more than once.
So you being single, Alicia, has got nothing to do with writing to guys in jail. You're not looking for a boyfriend in jail.
No, I think I just started writing to them. I probably started about 8 years ago, and just thinking about these people on death row and just thinking I couldn't imagine a lonelier life. Or
This is Graham's people on death row. Graham, tell them the story.
There's no story. My specialty is capital litigation. And unfortunately, when I was working in Jefferson Parish, I actually did have some people that got sent to death row, but they were not executed. And 2 cases were overturned at the U.S. Supreme Court. I did not handle those cases at the appellate level, but they were overturned on the record that I made, so that's cool. But I've got people that are on death row right now. Are you writing one of them?
So you're defending...
No, I just got the one in Louisiana.
That's
he's
not death row. Okay.
Oh, he's not on death row. So, but the people that you're defending, Graham, are they're all being tried for a capital offense. So they're all up for the death penalty, or not all?
Yeah.
Or their offense was a capital offense.
So I work for a project that defends indigent clients who are facing the possibility of a death penalty. If we don't do a second-degree murder, we'll do a first-degree murder. We won't do a first-degree murder if the DA's office takes the death penalty off the table.
So they have to be... The trial has to be a death penalty trial, otherwise you don't defend them.
You know, if we're halfway through the defense and halfway through we convince the DA's office not to seek the death penalty, then we'll stay on the case.
But mostly the cases you're defending are people who are going to be sentenced to death. If you lose, they're going to fry them.
No. If they're found guilty, they still have to. There's a second trial for the penalty. So if they're found guilty of the crime, then the same jury decides what punishment they should receive. And there are only 2 possibilities: life in prison without parole, or the death penalty. And there hasn't been a death penalty verdict in New Orleans in a long time. That's where most of our cases are right now.
And you're the trial attorney. You're the person who's in court defending this.
Yes. Although
always men? Are they always men?
Antoinette Franks is on death row.
Okay.
But
Did you defend her?
That was way before my time. Yeah.
You guys know that story? That was a good story.
Who is she?
She was a cop. You remember that, Amal? Were you here then? Amal's from LA, so you might know. Is that right? She was a cop.
She was a policeman, policewoman.
She was on duty in New Orleans East, and she went to some a Vietnamese restaurant or Vietnamese convenience store or something. It
was a restaurant. Her partner worked a detail there.
I thought, and she went and hung out with them. She went home. I'm not making any of this up. She went home, changed out of her uniform, came back and shot them all up.
The first person she shot was her partner.
And killed a bunch of people. And there was someone survived by hiding in the refrigerator or something, and said afterwards, I recognized that she was the cop that was just here.
Jeez.
So she's not only vicious and sick, but stupid.
And her cousin was her co-defendant. Her little cousin, who was much younger, was her co-defendant.
Pretty amazing story. Antoinette Frank. So you defended her?
No,
you did not.
That was way before I started.
Okay.
That kind of work.
Right. All right. Okay. So Alicia, back to the question? How did you meet these guys? 8 of them.
Yeah. So I wanted to know what life was like inside these prisons.
Why is that?
Honestly, it's hard to say because it was a long time ago. I think I just couldn't imagine someone who was living a life so different than mine, and I just wanted to know what it was like. And the reason I chose death row, actually, and this is maybe a little bad to say, but I didn't want to go through the awkward, oh, you're out and you want to meet up.
Well,
I didn't want to get to that point.
You're right.
Yeah. So
it's like Match.com without the awkward date.
Yeah.
No,
it's not like that. But I've had some really great conversations and getting to know these men, and the fact that they're men, that's just the way it kind of worked out. There's more men out there. There's more men looking for pen pals. And it's stayed very platonic. And when I tell people I do this, there's a lot of cynicism. It's like, oh, well, you know what they're after. But I've been writing to some of them for 8 years, and I've kept the situation under control. It's never gone anywhere I didn't want it to go.
So none of these guys are getting out.
The guy in Angola, I think he is going to get out. So some things to think about there. But yeah, the guy in San Quentin, he's not getting out.
I wasn't aware that people got out of Angola that often, actually. Do they, Graham?
Sure. It is generally for long sentences. It's a hard labor facility, and I think they're really looking for people with sentences of, I took an 8-year hiatus and I'm just getting back into it, so I'm not really sure. It used to be 20 years or more.
Yeah.
That you had to have a 20-year sentence.
Hey, Alicia, have you been to the rodeo?
No, I don't think I want to go to the rodeo.
No bueno.
No way.
No,
Nobody
the
wants to
rodeo,
go to
it's
the
the worst. It's
Yeah.
the worst. It's awful. It's just what you would imagine. It's like these guys, they don't have that much to look forward to, and it's very what's the word I'm looking for?
Cruel and
exploitive.
exploitive,
Yeah.
Exactly the
Very
word.
It seems to be cruel and inhuman to me, but people love it, though. Have you been to it, Graham?
No.
Amal, you wouldn't think of going to it.
I would never go.
Me
No,
neither.
no.
I had a friend who went, and what really turned her off was overhearing a woman say, because they sell handicrafts too.
Yeah.
And she overheard a woman say, "It's like, well, this chair must be worth like at least a couple $100s, but I managed to get it for $25." And it's like, well done, you
Yeah.
managed to take advantage of one of the most vulnerable people in our society. Well done.
That's really amazing. It is a pretty weird thing. It's sort of like the Lions and the Christians, when they
Right.
used to have the Colosseum.
Right.
And
Gladiators.
They were the gladiators.
That's exactly
yeah.
that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It seems very strange, but at least you could get to see. Do you know what this guy looks like in Angola or any of
in
them?
Angola-
Do they send you photos?
One of them sends me photos, the one who's engaged. He sends me photos of himself and his girlfriend, and she's adorable. She really is.
How do they get to? Oh, she comes and takes photos. But if you're in jail by yourself, there's no sort of selfie type
No.
option there, is there?
I get no.
I mean, if you don't have a girlfriend, I don't mean by yourself. I mean,
Yeah, he
Yeah.
just sends me photos that are, I don't know, it's just him like in a very small room with his girlfriend. They're getting married in April. They met on Ancestry.com, which I think is interesting.
Oh,
They're
okay.
distantly related.
How do you meet somebody? They're related.
Yeah, that's how she found him. Because she's
Are they
you
in
know,
Mississippi?
No, she's German, and she did some research and found out like, hey, I'm related to you, and you're on death row. Sounds like we should get married.
So like how distant cousins are they? Like
gotta
are they
be-
like
I
fifth,
don't
sixth?
know.
Quite a bit of
There's a few
distance.
questions I'm just not asking, which I'd like to know. But he's
How did
really
she-
happy.
Well, I bet he is. How did she fall in love with him?
I don't know, and I feel very protective. Like I kind of want to go to Germany and be like, all right, Missy, what's your game, and kind of see what she's
Right.
up to. But he doesn't. He doesn't have money.
Is he getting out ever?
He's not getting out. I mean, he's
Okay,
going to
so
die
what's
of
her
natural
deal?
causes. He's
Okay,
in his
so
70s, and
He's in his 70s.
Yeah, he's been there since the
Is he the
80s.
obese guy?
yeah, and his health is getting worse every year. He's
What do
not
you-
going to be around much
What do you
longer.
think? Has she met him in person?
Yeah, because they take
Oh, yeah.
pictures.
Right,
that,
okay.
they're together, and
Wow.
and part of me wondered if it was a citizenship thing, but you just don't think of Germans as doing that. Who wants to leave Germany for the United States these days?
Well, I don't know, but it's everybody. I mean, why would you want to live anywhere and come here necessarily if you live? People have different reasons. That would
guess
be an
so.
interesting immigration interview, though, wouldn't it? How would you have the interview?
With her?
Yeah, with the two of them. I mean, you're supposed to go down to
yeah.
the federal building together and and answer these stupid questions that they have. I've done it, so I can tell you.
Okay. Well, I
It's
guess we'll find
ridiculous.
out how they have to do it.
How would you do that? How would you have that? Have you seen Green Card? It's kind of like that.
Is that a movie?
Yeah, it was an old movie from like the
Oh.
80s, I think.
I've not seen it.
Anyway, so well, we haven't got anywhere. We only got up to Maryland. We haven't even got to New York Island or Niger at all yet, but we're going to get there. First of all, Amal, we're going to take a listen to something.
Okay.
What are we going to hear?
Listen to the track Sunday. I recently had a music video. Well, it wasn't recently. In September, I dropped a music video for it. So
What's it called?
Sunday.
Sunday. And if we want to see the music video, we can see it on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. So you type in F The Naysayer Sunday, it'll come up.
AF The Naysayer. I've got a lot of questions to ask you about AF the other guy that was...
Luke St. John.
Yeah, what happened to him? Should we listen to the music first and then we'll get on to what
Yeah,
happened to the
let's
rest of the
listen to
Naysayer?
music.
Okay. Alicia, what did you think?
I really liked it.
Isn't
yeah.
it nice? I see why you called it Sunday. Doesn't it feel hypnotic and restful and calming?
Yeah, because when you put it on, I was just thinking, because I was looking for more like music that I could listen to at work, kind of just in the background that didn't have music to it. But then, like, it's not background music. Like, it's music you just want to pay attention to when you're listening to it.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that very much.
I liked it a lot.
Me too. Well done, Amal. It's called F The Naysayer is the name of the band. If you're looking for it, you can find it on YouTube. The name of the song is Sunday. And the album is called the Autodidact Instrumentals Vol.1. I highly recommend it. And you don't have to pay for it. You can steal it in the usual places. It's on Spotify and stuff, right?
No, it's not on Spotify.
It's not on Spotify.
Because they don't pay. They don't pay right.
They pay something, but they pay not very much. So how do we get to hear it? You have to buy it? For God's
you can
sakes,
buy it. You can buy it. You can. The whole album's streaming on YouTube. So
the whole album's free on YouTube.
It's for free.
So
on
why
YouTube.
not just put it on Spotify then?
I mean, because I just don't like Spotify. I'm not a fan of Spotify.
But you're prepared to give the music away.
Yeah.
Totally. At least if you put it on Spotify, you get 0.0169 cents a spin.
No, YouTube,
you don't want to support
Spotify? I don't want to support Spotify. And also YouTube, if you have, with the partnership and the ads and whatnot, you actually are able to make revenue through it.
Oh, okay.
So
if I watch your song Sunday on YouTube or listen to the whole album, I'm not paying for it, but you can actually still get paid.
Yes.
Okay, that's a pretty cool system, and I have to watch some dopey ad for like 3 seconds before it.
Or skip through it, because nowadays they break it down to how long you actually watch the ad.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it used to be like if the ad was played, you get the money. Now it's like, you only watch like 5 seconds of it, so you only get this much.
Okay, so that thing at the beginning of a YouTube video where it says you can skip the ad in 3, 2, 1, skip ad, and everyone hits skip.
I'm pretty. I mean,
you get a prorated.
I do.
You get everyone. I'm sure they do, right? You do, Alicia.
Oh, I do. Yeah, I mean, I won't skip it on yours now because that'll get you an extra cent.
I had no idea. Did you guys know that?
I mean, it makes sense.
So if you're trying to support your favorite YouTube channel or whatever, just make sure you watch the ads.
I'd always thought that they figured out something about ads, that it somehow got into your consciousness, even if you only watch 3 seconds of it somehow.
I mean, they come up so often, even if you skip them, because they definitely target category,
right.
Whatever you looked up on Google or whatever, they'll send you the same kind of ads over and over and
so
over. And over and over.
How much do you get for 3 seconds, and how much do you get for if I watch the whole 30?
Actually, I don't know. I need to actually break that down. I need to know that myself.
That is amazing.
But yeah, I do know that's how it works, though.
Talking of ads, let me tell you something about some of the people who are responsible for bringing us our show today. Our show today is brought to us by Petite Pet Care. If you're going out of town or have a crazy schedule, and you see you can't click on something here because you have to listen to this whole thing, or you can just stop listening completely and give up, and then you won't be able to hear the rest of this. Of the other 7 guys who you're writing to in jail, Alicia, who we haven't got to yet, or how you got to Niger, or even New York or Ireland, and why you came here on a boat. Brought to us today by Petite Pet Care. If you're going out of town or have a crazy schedule, the folks at Petite Pet Care will take care of your pet in his or her own home. For loving care when you're not there, go to petitepetcare.com and buy basics, swim and gym. A full range of fashion swimsuits, workout and yoga clothes with style. The all-new Basic Swim and Gym is on Magazine Street near Jefferson Avenue. Yes, Graham?
No.
You're going to say something? Okay.
No.
Also brought to us today by Hangover Destroyer, the only all-natural product medically proven to prevent a hangover. Just go to the website. It's called hdestroyer.com and write happy hour in the coupon code and get 30% off Hangover Destroyer and seize the dawn. And also our show is brought to us today by unlistednola.com, the revolutionary new way to buy a house in New Orleans. If you know what you're looking for, you can find your perfect match before it comes on the market. It's the match.com of real estate. It's at unlistednola.com. Thank you very much to all those fabulous people for helping us out today. Okay, so where were we? Well, should we go back to AF The Naysayer and what happened to the other half of AF The Naysayer, and then we'll get on to...
Oh, no. Well, first off, that was a project I did with this rapper, and his name was Luke St. John. So
yeah.
AF The Naysayer and Luke St. John.
Oh, it was
being
such
too long of a title.
Right.
But it was 2 people together. I don't know. He was doing school and whatnot. He puts on programs and events. I don't even know if he's even rapping anymore.
Oh, okay.
I'm still making music. So.
Right. So you drifted apart from Luke St. John. Okay. Yeah, you're doing better than ever. You moved to New Orleans now because you were living in Baton Rouge or somewhere weird.
I was just a vagabond. living in New Orleans when I was sleeping on someone's couch, basically. And then living in Baton Rouge when sleeping on someone's couch.
You're like Alicia.
Yeah, I was definitely living the vagabond lifestyle. And
Do you like better
I was a
having
Rolling
a place?
Stone.
And now you have a place in New Orleans?
I'm still a Rolling Stone.
Are you still on a couch?
Yeah, I'm still couch
yeah.
surfing. This is, I'm touring a lot, so it makes no sense for me to sign a lease on a place when I'm like never gonna be there.
You have accommodating friends. That sounds like it works for you.
Yeah, I do. I give them cash and whatnot.
Oh.
So it's definitely like I'm paying to stay somewhere, but just not on a lease.
Not a landlord.
Sounds good.
So do you have you have a couch though? You don't have a room. You still
I did have a room. The last place I was staying in, my friend was letting me stay in the guest room. Now I'm staying on the couch.
So how many bags have you got?
I have 2 backpacks.
That's it. Your whole worldly possessions are in 2 backpacks.
2 backpacks, and then I leave a lot of stuff at my parents' house. They live in swamps, Morgan City. So.
Morgan City, okay. So do you like have a bunch of clothes? You have to wait till everything's dirty before you go to the laundry. Are you on that system?
I do have a bunch of clothes. Like one backpack, it's a hiking backpack. It's fairly large. It's Appalachian Trails kind of backpack. And I just store everything in there. And another backpack's like all my electronics.
So you only have one backpack of personal possessions, and the other stuff is work.
Just either like stuff for like Upbeat Academy, the school, or the paperwork for folders for like Red Bull and my computer stuff. And I have like a little mobile kind of studio set up.
So you're not writing letters to anybody? You're not writing letters?
Oh, I probably should be, but no, I'm not writing.
You have nowhere to receive them, sounds like.
Yeah, you've got no address.
No. I've been like mail it to my mom's house. I guess it's the safest place to go, and then maybe like once every 6 months I'll check on it.
Yeah. Your mom probably won't be happy if some inmates show up though when they get out.
No, she wouldn't be too happy about that.
What about your mom? What does she think of all this?
I've never had letters sent to
No, but
my
have you
Maryland
told her you're
prison.
writing to 8 guys in jail?
I don't think I have. No, I don't think I've told
You haven't
anyone.
mentioned it to her. You haven't told
Yeah.
anyone?
Uh-oh. Everyone knows it.
I'll find out
Well,
now.
luckily no one listens to this show, so I think, except for, petite pet care, of course, and basic swim and gym and hangover destroyer people.
Yeah. Well, my friends in prison certainly don't. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that they don't.
They don't listen to the show.
I really doubt they
Can
do.
you get the show in prison? I never thought about that. That would be an interesting audience for us.
I think it depends on the jail, right? Or the prison.
I have no idea. I have no clue. Alicia, you would know better than anyone. Well, Graham, you would know too. Can you listen to podcasts in prison?
You have to have internet access, right? I don't think they do.
Right.
Yeah, they have I have a few inmates who can receive emails, but it's on like this sort of old-fashioned, like you can't surf the web, you can just receive and send emails, and that's about it.
So I don't think you could get the show. If you're a prisoner and you listen to this, drop me a line at grant@itsneworleans.com. What's your email? I'll forward it to you if I get an email from prisoners.
We've got it. She doesn't have to give it on here. I have that.
We'll forward you any email we get from prisoners, Alicia.
Okay, and I'll do something with it.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, save your writing to people because, how's your handwriting? It must be pretty good, I suppose.
I just type. I type and then I print it.
I see. And you print it out and then you just sign it. So you can learn a lot about somebody from their handwriting. Do the guys write back to you in handwriting?
No, actually, a lot of them type as well on like typewriters. But it's very true what you say. I think it's interesting. Like I remember once, like the last person that I dated, I forget what happened that caused him to write me like a handwritten note like 2 years into our relationship.
Valentine's Day, maybe?
Maybe, but I looked at it as like,
I'm leaving
I've
you.
never seen this handwriting before. Yeah, because like you never have opportunities to write, even like your best friends and people you love, like you never have opportunities to see their handwriting, and it's very strange.
So you were dating someone for 2 years before you saw his handwriting. Who did the shopping? Did you not write a shopping list or anything?
No.
No.
No, I mean, he didn't even know how to use a can opener, so he wasn't going to make a shopping list.
Like a Marl's face. Even a Marl who doesn't have a house knows how to use a can opener, right?
I have to,
Do you own a can opener? Is that one of the things that makes it into your 2 bags?
No, I do have a Leatherman, which is like a multi-tool.
Oh, that is totally a can opener.
Multi-tool and gaff tape will get you out a lot of things.
You have gaffer tape and a Leatherman. That's two.
You just add some zip ties, and there's nothing you can't do.
Well, I got that too.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, that's interesting.
You never know. Well,
so you have a can opener. So what kind of guy doesn't know how to use a can opener? What did he eat? Was he like a chef or something?
No, he'd eat Subway.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every day?
Yes, every day.
He's like he didn't get scurvy or something.
Yeah.
Was it Jared
It was not Jared, but how cool would that be if I could just announce to the world right now that I had dated Jared?
That would be pretty funny.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
That would be very funny.
Well,
What?
It's better than that guy who ate pizza every day, who eats for like 25 years or something.
Really?
Yeah, there's a guy who just eats cheese pizza. Of course, he's diabetic, but
Was that a guy on like My Strange Addiction or one of those TLC?
I don't know. But yeah, I know he
Shows,
did
yeah.
kind of have a little brief internet, like,
15 minutes?
15
I would
minutes
think
of
so.
fame.
25
Okay.
years of pizza.
Yeah, because there's people on that show, like, there's one girl who only eats French fries.
That
and-
My Strange Addiction show.
Yeah, and if she doesn't like the way the French fry looks, she'll like hide it under the paper towel on the plate. And then there was like one girl who only drinks Coke, and they told her she was diabetic. It's like, well, yeah, no shit. Like, that's the only thing that you ever drink.
How do they find these people? Do you believe all that crap on My Strange Addiction? It is one of the greatest shows
It's
ever
on
made.
television, of course I
So it
believe
must
it.
be true,
you can't
right?
lie on television.
No, that's true. It really is an awesome show, though.
It
Did you
kind
see
of
the one
is.
about the guy who had plastic surgery to look like some sort of comic book character?
I don't know. I saw the
feel
guy
like
who
that's
had
like a lot of
plastic
them, right?
surgery to look like a Ken doll. But I
Yeah, that's the guy maybe I'm thinking of, is it? I mean, that
It
guy was
could
not
be.
fake. That's real. He had muscle implants and
yeah, it's that
guy looked really. Was that meant to look like Ken? Is that who he was trying to look like?
Well, he
was
wanted to
sort of
look like a
semi-Asian
doll.
looking guy. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was
so
really great.
And Ken dolls are the premier choice in men's dolls. So I guess that's what he was going for.
It wouldn't be G.I. Joe, like a G.I. Joe action figure?
He
or?
didn't seem like the G.I. Joe type. He was much more Ken-ish than G.I. Joe.
It was really interesting because he had his whole body's been chiseled, like for real. Like he's got silicone implants here and there. And did you see this one? And he was explaining to the person doing the interview, you see this bicep muscle here. They put it in upside down.
Yeah, we totally saw the same one.
I'm
yeah.
going to have to go and have it taken out.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Like,
He's
okay.
like complaining to his mother, and she's like, "That's nice, honey," and like she just doesn't
Yeah.
really get it.
Oh, well,
Who
would
does?
get it? Yeah.
Right?
That is a good show, though.
It's a
Thanks for bringing that up. No one's brought up.
It's a good
my
show.
stuff. It is awesome.
Yeah, the shows like that, they just make you. This is again bad to say, but it makes you feel better about what's happening in your life. It's like, well, I eat things that aren't French fries from time to time.
I'm not.
So
I'm not as
I
bad
guess
as
I'm
that
doing
girl who
okay.
only eats French fries.
Yeah.
And is that why you think you write to guys in prison because at least you're not in prison?
It kind of helps actually. Like sometimes when I'm describing things I've done that have been really great, like I just went on a hiking trip with some friends and it was wonderful. So I'm telling these guys in prison about like the landscape and the dogs that we had with us and how much they enjoyed like being in the creeks and things like that. And I always wonder if they really like those descriptions, like, oh, that's the outside world, I remember that, or if they find it, painful.
Right.
Taunting.
Yeah.
Maybe
and
it's a little bit of both.
yeah,
It's
and I
bittersweet.
could ask, and I do ask, but I feel like they're always like, oh no, honey, you're okay, just say what you want, So I don't really know.
What do they think? What do you think they want to hear from you?
I think they mostly just want to hear what I'm up to, because they talk about their lives too, but honestly, they don't have a whole lot going on except for their appeals process, and if they're going to get in fights or if there's trouble, they're not going to tell me.
They don't tell you.
So they really just ask me a lot of questions about what I'm doing, and they comment on things that I'm doing.
I can only imagine like that takes them out of like their reality of what goes on in the prison. So like
Yeah.
hearing your problems or what you're going through is kind of like their release, like their TV show, I guess you could say, right?
I hope so. Yeah, because sometimes I feel really, petty when I was like, oh, I like my job, but it's not perfect. Oh no, my life's so hard. So
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
But then it's a
Me
nice
too.
thing to do. It's nice that you're doing it. You're spending time that you don't have to communicate with someone who's got a pretty bad existence.
Yeah, it's been rewarding. It really has been. And they ask me for things occasionally, and I've
Can you send stuff?
yeah, but you have to go through certain channels. Like, Graham, I don't know if you know this JPay system.
Is that
Oh,
like
yes,
putting
I
money
do
on?
know
Are
JPay
you talking
for
about like
sure.
putting money on books? Is that what that is?
Like a
Like-
cashier's
It's like,
check.
it's
and,
like J-Date.
Yeah. Well, no.
Exact
different.
same thing.
A
JPay.
bit different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it just here or is it nationwide?
It's a nationwide thing, but it's like just for prisons, a way of transferring money and also like goods to prisons.
Like
but-
PayPal.
Yeah.
PayPal for prison?
Like PayPal.
But I think they skim like
That's a
quite
great
a
idea.
lot.
We
Oh,
didn't come up with them all.
Right.
PayPal for prisons. I wish we'd thought of that one.
Oh, you just did.
Well, yeah, they've already got it. JPay.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think they've cornered the market with JPay, so maybe you can compete with PayPal for prisons, and that's a much cleverer title.
What do they do with the money you send them? Is it money you're sending them, or are you sending them goods?
Occasionally. I've sent money that they say is going to go towards like food packages, like, you know, just commissary and buying candy bars, things like that.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. Even in jail, there's rich people and poor people?
Yeah,
yes, for sure.
Oh, that is so horrible. I never knew that. Did you know that, Amal?
I watched Gangland a couple of times.
Yeah. What is that? Is it a movie or a TV show?
It's like
My Strange Addiction?
It's like a documentary of like various gangs in America and how they run things, I guess. And they always talk about the prison because a lot of gang culture is amplified in prison. So,
but there's rich prisoners and poor prisoners, so you can have a lot of money in prison and
like my friend Ward, for example, and Ward's the one who is engaged to the German woman. Mm-hmm. He crochets, and he sells his blankets at craft fairs, so that's how he gets his money.
Okay.
His lawyer takes them to the craft fairs for him, and she sells it and gives him the money. He does some beadwork. He's
got it going on. He's crocheting, and he's getting married to his German chick.
He does some beadwork, and it was really cute actually once, because the only time he's ever been like disciplined and got into a fight was when he went to the hobby program, and they hadn't like put his bead order through, and he just kind of flipped out. But he's sent me like a beaded headband that he's made.
You don't know what he's doing in there, though. You don't know what his crime was that he got convicted.
I finally Googled it. I broke down. I feel bad about that. Yeah.
So did he kill someone, and now he's flipping out?
Yeah,
about
I mean
crocheting
it's
needles?
Death row, so you kind of assume everyone there has killed people. So that's what he did essentially, and now he crochets.
So there's that.
What a turnaround, man.
Is that regarded as rehabilitation?
Yeah, right.
I have no answer for that.
I guess.
I think, for
sure. I mean, the thing is, anyone can crochet, you know.
I don't know if I could, but I guess if I'm looking at a life...
Well, I just mean it doesn't mean that you're
nothing but time.
That would be a good way for you to learn the piano. At least you get incarcerated.
Oh.
You know
with
what?
a piano.
I admit that sometimes I think... I wouldn't call it a fantasy, but sometimes I think to myself, like, what if I didn't have the option of working? I didn't have anything to do in my life, but I was put in like a 6x6 room for the rest of my life. How would I spend my time?
I wouldn't call that a fantasy either, probably, unless you're in therapy, are you?
Well, that's a highly personal question.
Well, you don't have to answer it, but you could bring that up with your therapist.
Yeah, that's
Sometimes
true.
I have a fantasy but you know what? Everybody has a sort of an idea that they could have all responsibility removed from their lives. And, if only I was in a mental institution, or if only I had something, or this or that, or living on a desert island, or whatever it is that gets you away from. Yeah. And then you wake up, and then, unfortunately, you're still at liberty. And you have to go to work.
Liberty.
What do you do here, actually? During the
day? I work for the state of Louisiana in the HIV prevention program.
HIV prevention?
Yeah.
What is the HIV prevention program exactly?
We go around the country preventing HIV. We see people about to have unprotected sex, and we're saying, no.
Put on that condom, or don't do it.
Wrap it up. Wrap it up.
We fund community-based organizations around the state to conduct HIV prevention activities. So that includes condom distribution, it includes counseling and testing, and it includes...
You do counseling too?
Yes, I've done some counseling and testing as well.
Testing?
Yes.
Meaning?
HIV testing.
Blood test?
Blood testing and also oral fluid testing.
What does that involve?
It depends on the test. But the oral fluid test, it's like a little wand. Yep. And you put it in your mouth, you swab it, and you get your results in 20 minutes. So
you can find it if you have HIV in 20 minutes.
It won't be a diagnosis.
20 minutes or less.
So these tests are
lens crafters.
That's
they should
one way of
combine
looking
that.
at it.
You should do a deal with lens crafters and HIV testing. Come and get your glasses and find out if you have HIV, wouldn't it?
Well, for one thing, probably the biggest barrier standing in our way of doing our work here in Louisiana is stigma. And so, you take, for example, No AIDS Task Force, a wonderful organization working here in New Orleans. But as wonderful as they are, there's some people in this city who just will not go through those doors because people see them go through those doors. That's the HIV building. That means you have AIDS if you're in that building, and that's the misperception. So we started testing at places like Walgreens, which are much more kind of mainstream. Anyone can walk into a Walgreens.
There is, I believe, Lenscrafters is in Walgreens, right? So you really.
There you go.
So, but if you're doing that, you've got like a table at Walgreens that says, "Come get your HIV test here." That would seem more public to me than walking into a nondescript building downtown.
Well, what we have is you'll have sort of staff members from the organization or volunteers who are wearing like their HIV T-shirts, kind of advertising, who they're with, and they'll usher people back to a private room.
Okay. At Walmart.
Walgreens.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking of Walmart. Walgreens, people they put their arm on that blood pressure thing. I've never even done that. Have you ever done that?
They have that at Walmart. Yeah, I have done that before.
You done that?
Mm-hmm.
How's your blood pressure? Could you tell?
I haven't did it in so long, I don't remember, but it was always like what it was supposed to be.
Looking good.
It's always looking good. I eat pretty okay.
I thought they might screw it up on purpose so they make you buy. I mean, it's a drugstore after all. Like a little readout. Hey, you need Advil.
That just
Or
might
aspirin.
be illegal.
Sounds unethical and very unethical.
Yeah.
Well, it might be. Okay, well, there is that.
And
I suppose.
Walmart cares a lot about ethics. So.
Really? They just finally started paying everyone minimum wage. That was like a headline. Did you see that?
No, I did not.
That's
see
a headline in the paper. Good news. Walmart, they've got like 500,000 employees. They're now going to get paid minimum wage. That's really what it said, honestly.
I guess
Wait. I
that's
thought
moving
they
on
the
up.
world.
Walmart's
Moving
paying. Wait, they're paying $9 an hour now.
Well, whatever it is, it's
That's not minimum wage.
whatever.
wage
It
is
is. No, it is now.
Here or
Oh,
where?
here.
Now they've jacked it all up. 500,000 people are going to get now minimum wage instead of some sort of part-time bullshit thing that they got.
Does that mean they'll be off of food stamps?
I don't know, but the thing is, I think you can pay people anything you want if you're not a full-time employee. Is the whole deal. I think that's how they got away with it. I believe, although don't quote me on that. But that's how. I mean, how can you get away with paying less than minimum wage? Isn't that what minimum wage is? The minimum.
There's always loopholes. I mean,
Exactly.
like the service industry, for example.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Right. They don't get paid anything, basically.
No, why are waiters getting paid like
Well, why
less
is
than minimum
that?
wage? I
Yeah.
have no idea.
Because they make tips.
But that shouldn't justify that. You know?
Right. You should still.
They still have to pay taxes on the
They
tips.
do, yeah.
So
and there's
like,
an assumption of how much they're getting in tips, and it's
Is there?
But I think you have to be paid at like if
Chris.
if you don't. This is Tech Chris. But if you don't get paid, like if you don't make any money from tips in a certain week, like if there's just no one comes in or whatever, the restaurant has to pay you at least minimum wage. So they can pay you like $2 an hour
okay.
while you're making enough tips.
Are you serious?
But
I
if-
never knew that.
I think it's something like that. My
I hope
sister
it. I hope it
told me.
is.
It just
Yeah, that'd
seems
be
so
great.
complicated. I know a lot of places have gone to like a living wage system for waiters, and I think it makes so much sense. And I've had visitors come to see me from like other countries I've lived in where they don't tip, and we just
Niger,
go
for
back and forth about like, no, you have to leave a tip. And I'm like, well, why do I have to leave a tip? It's like, you just do.
It's
It's
so
just how
awesome
we
when
do
you go to a
things.
country where there's no tipping, though. It's great.
It
You just
is
pay the bill
great.
and walk out.
It is great, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
And the service is just as good. It's not like no one's going to serve you just because there's no tip involved.
Oh, the service is pretty bad in the places I've been, but
Well, tell us about Niger.
Oh.
Yeah, Amal, go on. What are you going to
It
say?
might be because of certain cultures. I know my
Yeah.
friend was telling me when he was like living in Siberia, college. He was saying that like the restaurants there, like if you don't like basically wave the waiter or waitress down, they're not going to come to you ever. So
yeah, that
anytime you need
describes
something, you had
Slovakia,
to. So
yeah.
So
Yeah.
You were in Slovakia. That's like that too?
Yeah, I was out for dinner with one girl in our group. She ordered 2 items, and the waitress is like, "No, those don't really go together." And she's like, "Well, can I still get them?" She's like, "No." Yeah. So, and I ordered a grilled cheese once, and they brought me a grilled cheese and ham, and I was vegetarian at the time. It's like, sorry, I ordered a grilled cheese. They're like, this is grilled cheese. It's like, well, it has ham on it. I'm like, so? I'm like, well, I don't eat meat. I'm like, well, ham's not meat. I'm like, well, ham is meat. Could I just have grilled cheese? She's like, no, we're out of grilled cheese.
Oh,
Oh,
God.
that's awesome. Is
You're
this,
out of
like
grilled
5
cheese. You
easy
have grilled
pieces.
cheese and ham, but you're out of grilled cheese.
this is like a Monty Python.
It's like
Sketch.
it's like
It was very
Yeah.
Monty Python.
Do you-
5 easy pieces. Remember that scene in the restaurant? Jack Nicholson tells her to hold the toast or whatever. You have toast, right? Yeah. We don't have toast. We have sandwiches. Well, tell you what. Take everything off the sandwich.
Yeah.
Toast the bread. I can't remember, but it's cute.
Do you speak Slovakian?
No, hovorím trošku po slovensky, ale zabudla som všetko.
That sounds pretty impressive. What does that mean? Yes, I speak a little bit, but not very well.
It's like, yeah, I speak, well, okay, I meant to say, yes, I speak Slovak, but I've forgotten a lot. I actually ended up saying, yes, I speak Slovak, but I've forgotten everything. So I just
That's still pretty
I'm
impressive.
forgetting it
But
over
you
time.
still speak Slovak.
I don't know.
Does it sound like Russian or Polish, or what does that sound like? Where does it come from?
All the Slavic languages are all related. So Russian, Polish, Slovak. The Slovaks would say that Slovak was the best Slavic language to learn if you were only going to learn one, because it was the most central. So for example, the Slovaks can understand about 90% of what Czechs say. They can understand about 60% of Polish and maybe 10 to 20% of Russian. So it's a pretty central.
What made you go to Slovakia and learn? Did you just learn Slovak first, or did you go there and then learn?
No, I went there and I learned it. I got a job at a high school, so I was teaching there. And I learned when I was there. It was a bilingual high school, so I was supposed to only speak English in the classroom. But outside of the classroom, many young people speak English, but you still really need Slovak to get around in places like the bank or the train station.
Geez, if you can learn Slovak in a space of, a few months, you must be able to learn to play the piano.
Maybe.
Wouldn't you think, Amal? Surely.
Yes.
Slovak,
Yes.
piano, potato. Same thing.
That's amazing. Did you date any Slovakian guys while you were over there?
I dated one, yeah. He was a member of the national rafting team.
How many people are on a rafting team?
6.
6 guys on a raft.
Yeah, all with really nice biceps.
Yeah. Put in the right way, I assume. What is? I mean, do you guys know? I'm going to ask you two then. What do people do on a rafting team? Any idea?
They row?
I would
Right.
say they row.
I don't know.
Maybe that's not the proper term.
I've
Maybe
never
it's
heard
like-
of a
maybe it's
rafting
like-
team, and
maybe
you
it's like
guys haven't either, obviously,
No,
right? No.
clearly.
What do people do on a raft? I thought you had a beer on a raft.
And believe it or not, they row.
There you go.
Ding,
Congratulations.
ding, ding.
Yay.
Good job.
Guys. Yeah.
What does it look like, a raft? It's square?
It's like a rectangular raft. There's 3 people on each side, and there's different events. So there's like the sprint, and there's the slalom, and head-to-head, where like you race with another raft. And then there's white water, so there's obstacle courses and things like that.
Wow.
It's
So he
pretty
must
fun
have
to
been in
watch.
pretty good shape, this guy. How'd you meet him?
Well, that's an interesting story.
Okay.
I was friends with his girlfriend, and we.
Boy, that is interesting right there, right?
Yeah, so we were all in the same friendship group, and we all went out to a club one night. And I remember looking at this club and thinking, like, no good things can come out of this place. And we ended up getting into a fight with some gypsies because his girlfriend was pushing another girl on the dance floor. And so they took it outside. And then her boyfriend
Right.
went out after them. And he ended up getting his nose broken. And last I saw him, he just tore down the street, like streaming blood, being chased by all these gypsies. And my friend went to follow him, and she ended up getting jumped. And I tried to kind of pull him apart, and I got pulled off by my hair, thrown to the ground, and just kind of got kicked by these girls.
Gypsies.
Yeah, and so it was. And the next day, I was attending a church there as well. So the next day, I was actually in charge of putting together the kids' Christmas pageant, and I was doing the choreography for it. But I couldn't lift my arms all the way over my head because I was so bruised on my back. So I was making a motion, kind of like, oh, and then all the kids would
it's
like
Christmas.
do the same motion.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you are. All right,
yeah,
so he's got a broken nose.
He's got a broken nose. She and I are both like bruised and bleeding. And then when the smoke had cleared, he broke up with her the next day and then asked me out. And I said no for about a year and a half. And then I finally said
So
yes.
you were in Slovakia for a long time.
I was there for 5 years.
So remember, guys, be creepy. Keep asking. They'll say yes eventually.
Unfortunately, that is totally the lesson to take from it. That's exactly how it went down.
Wow. Hey, that's amazing. And we haven't even got to Niger at all, and we're out of time now. For real.
Oh.
We're going to all have to come back.
Next time.
Alicia, you are going to have to come back.
We've only been halfway around my world.
Really? Amal, what do we leave out of your story so far that you came here to tell today? Anything?
Oh, Kanye West is awesome.
You're not dating Kanye West. Sure.
Oh, no. I'm heterosexual.
Have you ever been chased by gypsies or anything like that?
No, that sounds like pretty interesting. You know, like Snatch.
Doesn't it? Snatch, yes.
Yeah, the movie Snatch.
Yeah.
Have you guys never seen it? Guy Ritchie.
That's Madonna's. Madonna's
Yeah. I didn't see it, but I know what it is.
Ex-husband.
Yeah.
Did you see Madonna fall down the stairs at the Brit Awards, by the way?
No.
I heard she did
Google
because
that.
they were making old people jokes about it.
Oh, really?
Like, I'm falling and I can't get up.
Yeah, that's what it looked. Oh, it's awful. She's standing at the top of like a small flight of stairs, like 4 or 5 stairs, and she's singing and taking off a cape, which she's then going to have someone pull off behind her, and she's going to step out, I guess, in some sort of other outfit. And whoever, the timing, I guess, wasn't working out right, and someone pulled the cape before she had untied it, and it pulls her back by the neck down the stairs, like in a very ungainly fashion on live television in front of a live audience.
Well, she's a yogi. She can handle it.
She could deal with it.
Should be okay.
Could you imagine anything more embarrassing, though, and horrible?
Yeah.
You could?
At least her clothes are
What
on.
is one thing? Being chased by a bunch of girl gypsies down the street and having it...
And having it being on World Star Hip Hop, yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. My guests today have been Alicia Cooke and Amal Abdul Khalik, otherwise known as F The Naysayer. You can find more about F The Naysayer by just Googling that and then going to afthenaysayer.com or something.
That's correct.
That's it, okay.
That's it.
And Alicia, do we have some way of finding out about HIV prevention? I was going to say WHIV, which is a radio station which we haven't even got onto, which I'm sure you're associated with as well, are you?
No, I know the people who are, but I'm not personally.
No, you should. That's
Yeah.
a great idea. So thank you both for joining me, and thank you, Graham daPonte. And next week we'll hopefully be back with a guy who couldn't hear because his hearing aid wasn't working.
I hope so. That would be great.
An interesting beginning to the show today. Thanks for being here, everybody. The producer of our show was Graham daPonte, who is sitting right across the table from us today. Our associate producer and technical director is Chris Kehoe, who we also heard from. Christian Unruh is our music director, and our theme song was written by and is currently being played by Mitch Foreman. The fabulous audio quality of the show is brought to you in part by PreSonus Audio Electronics. If you'd like to be on our show, and you can sit around a table here and have a drink for about 60 minutes, drop us a line. Our address is on our website, where you'll also find many other happy hours to listen to, as well as some other shows. Out to Lunch with Peter Raschuti, live from Commander's Palace. Mindset with psychiatrist Dr. Nick Pajic. True to the Game with Chris True. Midnight Menu +1 with Margot Moss and the man who ate New Orleans, Ray Canada. Louisiana Eats with Poppy Tucker. And the revolutionary new way to buy a house in New Orleans, Unlisted NOLA. Keep up with us on Facebook, on Twitter, and a bunch of other time-sucking social media as well, and all of it where It's New Orleans. You can find photos from this show on itsneworleans.com and on our Facebook and Google Plus pages. If you're listening to this show on iTunes or Stitcher or some other podcast app, thank you so much for subscribing to us. If you could, please just do this. It will only take you 45 seconds. Get an HIV test. That takes 20 minutes. This will take you 45 seconds. Take a moment to rate and review us. That does help other people find us. Our show is recorded live today at Wayfair on Ferret Street, where they put fine dining into a sandwich and fine booze into a glass. Come and check them out. Happy Hour is a production of INO Broadcasting for itsneworleans.com. Andrew Duhon is on the road somewhere. You can find him at andrewduhon.com, and you can find him back here next week as well with us. I'm Grant Morris. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll see you back here next week on Happy Hour.
Pros, for the supplies you use most, start with Lowe's, because Lowe's stocks the right quantities you need for any size job, like treated lumber, fencing, and decking. Load up on savings when you buy in bulk and get up to 30% off select 80-pound bags of Quikrete or Sackrete. Plus, get 5% off eligible purchases every day with your Lowe's Business Credit account. For other great benefits Lowe's offers pros, stop by and talk to your dedicated pro team today. Do it right for less. Start with Lowe's. Subject to credit approval, can't be combined with other credit offers. Exclusions apply. See store for details. U.S. only.